The ancient Egyptians made a pretty good calendar by following the movements of the sun and the moon.
Awesome.
They had 3 seasons, 12 months, and even made a 365-day year.
Yeah.
But there is a problem.
Uh-oh.
1 year isn't exactly 365 days.
It isn't?
So even with their pretty sick system, the Egyptian calendar shifted by about a day every 4 years.
Oh, man.
Over time, that meant the whole calendar drifted so much that seasons would be in the wrong place in the calendar year, which is super unhelpful if you're trying to plan for religious festivals and agriculture and stuff like that.
That's why you messed up my birthday.
Meanwhile, the Romans had been working on their own calendar. Their first king, Romulus, who reigned from 753 to 716, had a 10-month calendar that started in March with spring. It went until December, and then the winter months were simply not stuck on the calendar because they were cold and crappy and you couldn't really do much agriculture and festival-wise. So that time frame didn't get a special name like the other months. When spring came, the year started again. They used the phases of the moon to make the system work. Each month began and ended with a new moon. Romulus's calendar gave names to each of the months. The calendar year began in spring with Martius, March, which was named for Mars, the Roman god of war and a guardian of agriculture, both extremely important concepts for Rome. After Martius came Aprilis, April, a name with a fuzzier history than March. The leading theory is that Aprilis came from the Latin aperio, aperire, and apertus, which mean to open, in reference to the new life emerging at this time of year. After Aprilis came Maius, May, and Junius, or Junius, June. Depending on interpretation, these two might be connected. One theory is that Maius refers to maiores, meaning elders, and Junius refers to juniores, meaning younger men. Another theory is that May was named for Maia, the goddess of growth, and June was named for Juno, a protectress goddess whose role encompassed love, marriage, and even military themes. From here on out, it would appear Romulus had run out of creativity for month names.
Hey.
After Maius and Junius, we have Quintilis for the 5th month, Sextilis for the 6th month, September for the 7th month, October for the 8th month, November for the 9th, and December for the 10th. That's right, those month names just come from the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Groundbreaking.
This was hard.
The second king of Rome, Numa Pompilus,
Hello.
who reigned from 715 to 672, took this system and was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but let's give those winter months some love, and created Januarius, January, and Februarius, February. January is thought to have been derived from Janus, the two-faced god of beginnings and endings, transitions, and time. Februarius comes from februa, or februm, something used as part of a ritual for purification, because February began its calendar life at the very end of the year when it was associated with the dead. These two new months were stuck at the end of the existing calendar. The result was a calendar that had 354 days, but Romans had superstitions about even numbers, so they stuck another day at the end of January to make a 355-day year, and boom, that was the new lunar calendar. It stayed this way until 153 BC, when January and February were moved to the beginning of the year, though there are a few theories about why that happened, with one of them being that politicians started coming to their offices early due to a rebellion that was happening, so they just shifted the start of the year to a different month. But there was a big problem with all of this. The cycle of the moon doesn't precisely match the movement of the Earth around the sun. So because of this mismatch over time, the lunar calendar drifted, and the seasons eventually came way out of sync with the calendars, which, as we learned from the Egyptians earlier, definitely makes problems when you're trying to plant crops and hold seasonal festivals and things like that.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
The Romans had a group of dudes in charge of their calendar, and they were responsible for the process of intercalation.
That means putting days into the calendar to make the years sync up with the sun properly. But oh my god, it's so unlucky to do that. We hate it.
There was even a name for the month officials would come up with to try to fix the calendar drift. Mercedonius. Mercedonius comes from the Latin mercies, which means wages. It got this name because workers were paid around the time of year that Mercedonius happened. Mercedonius might consist of a leap day, a leap week, or a leap month, or somewhere in between. And the decision to insert Mercedonius into the calendar in any particular year was the responsibility of the Pontifex Maximus, an official elected to the highest level of priest in the Roman religion. But as you can imagine, there were lots of problems with the system, one of which being that sometimes Mercedonius would be inserted or omitted from a year in an attempt to do political maneuvering, like allowing an official to stay in office for longer. Fast forward around 615 years or so, and Julius Caesar, who had been elected Pontifex Maximus and was majorly responsible for taking care of the calendar, was busy with war and away from Rome. At the time, the Pontifex Maximus had to actually go to Rome to hash out the decision to insert more days into the calendar year. Some theorize he did this on purpose, letting the calendar get all wonky to try to give himself an advantage in battles.
Ugh, nobody knows what day it is. Are you staying away on purpose? No.
Whatever the reason, when he finally came back from Egypt in 46 BC, he brought back his knowledge of the solar calendar, which he'd learned about from hanging with Cleopatra.
Hey!
Boom! Roman and Egyptian knowledge smash! There was then a year that was literally called the Year of Confusion, where Caesar and his team had to make all kinds of weird changes to the calendar to get things back on track. Because when he arrived back from Egypt, the calendar was a full 3 months out of sync with the actual seasons. It was a mess of added and changed days for a year to get things fixed. They used this new solar calendar approach, and here was where they instituted the process of a leap year once every 4 years. It was kind of a huge deal.
I've called it the Julian Calendar.
Unfortunately, though, Caesar was assassinated, and in the aftermath, his politically savvy adopted heir, Augustus, really tried to pump up Caesar's image because it would create more support for Augustus as the next emperor.
That's right.
There was a big festival with games and things 4 months after Caesar's death, and there was a comet in the sky for days of the festival.
Augustus decided to try to use this to his political advantage. Dude, I'm totally gonna tell all the people that that comet is actually Caesar ascending to his rightful place as a god. Everyone, check out that comet. That's totally Caesar becoming a god. Wow. Oh my gosh, Caesar. Can you believe it?
People ate that up. The guys in charge of the calendar were like, hey, we should rename the 6th month after Caesar because that's when he was born and he did so much awesome stuff with the calendar. And from then on, Quintilis became Julius, which ultimately became July. Unfortunately, the guys in charge of making sure the leap year happened made a mistake and instituted it once every 3 years, meaning the calendar shifted by a day once every 128 years or so. Oops. So the next leader, Augustus Caesar, led the charge in fixing this error. He suspended the use of leap days for a couple of decades, then reinstituted them properly. In 8 BC, in his honor, Sextilis, the 8th month, was renamed to Augustus. This was considered appropriate because this was also the month that Egypt became part of the Roman Empire, the month Augustus was elected, and the month the Civil War ended. Augustus's original name was Octavian, with oct meaning 8, so this was a pretty fitting name all around. Perfect, right? There was still one problem left to fix. A year isn't exactly 365 days. It's more like 365.2422 days. And over time, this tiny discrepancy caused a shift in the calendar against the seasons. In the 1540s, mathematicians and astronomers set to work to address the problem, eventually coming up with a fix: a leap year in every year divisible by 4, except for years exactly divisible by 100. But if those centurial years are exactly divisible by 400, then they are leap years. The new calendar was officially implemented in 1582 by Pope Gregory XIII, and boom, the Gregorian Calendar, the one used worldwide today, was born, and the names of the months remain out of order. Hooray!